Hello and welcome to another episode of Ameza Superstar on YouTube. Thank you. Welcome to my channel. If you're a new person, this is Ameza. I am honored to have you hang out with me today. And if you're one of my old co-hosts, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate your support. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for liking. Thank you for sharing my videos. And thank you for hanging with me. I totally appreciate it. So one of the reasons why I came out here today, I got a letter, and I seem to get those. People write to me, and I'm grateful. Don't get me wrong, I really am. Thank you. Some of you just like to write, and I appreciate that. So Father's Day is coming up, and one of the letters I got, I'm gonna put on my glasses. Okay, so this is from Tammy. Tammy lives in Chicago, and she writes that, oh, I bet Father's Day is not going to be as celebrated as Mother's Day for obvious reasons. Obvious reasons being that we have a lot of deadbeat dads, and they forget that mothers, they get jealous of the mothers, but the mothers are always there. Okay, so Tammy, thank you for writing. Thank you, appreciate that. So, and that made me want to talk about that topic. Now, deadbeat dads have always been it's always been in the news. There's nothing there. When I say nothing there, I mean it's nothing new. I'm just going to put my own spin on it. And I totally agree with Tammy in a way. This is not to say all fathers are bad. Of course not. There's always an exception to the rule, okay? And this is not a white or black thing. However, some people would argue that you have more deadbeat fathers in the African American community. Is that true? Maybe, maybe not. However, I'm just going to and Tammy, she didn't talk about race thing. Well, she did point out that the news says, no, she says in the news, well, because, African American families, the reason why they don't have fathers in the homes is because most of the black men are in jail. But, so what does that say of African American fathers? Okay, so why is that? Why do you think there are more deadbeat fathers in the African American community? Is it like Tammy says, that you have more brothers, black, brown, I don't care what color you want to dignify the hue with. Black is black. It doesn't, you can have different shades, but let's just simplify it, black or African American. Do you think we have more deadbeat fathers in the African American community? This is something that I'm probably going to want to discuss further, and also have more people come. Actually, I would like to interview people on this. So if you want to talk about this, please feel free to write to me, amezaSuperstar@gmail.com. So that's one aspect of deadbeat fathers that we're going to talk about. The other part is not necessarily tied to the African American history, but more so on a more general platform, meaning why do we celebrate Mother's Day more than Father's Day? The answer is pretty simple. Well, I mean, on many levels. I think because mothers are nurturers. Mothers, see, I'm a woman, and the mere fact that I'm a woman, I'm wired so differently from a man. I think it's easier for a man to walk away. I mean, men walk away all the time from a pregnancy. Men walk away all the time from a delivery of a baby or babies. Men walk away from families with kids. It's not easy for a woman to walk away. Why? For one thing, she gets pregnant. She goes through all that whole pregnancy experience. So I think in that, there's that tie, there's that bonding with the child. So it's not easy for a woman to walk away from her pregnancy, one, unless of course she gets rid of it, which is totally another topic. But it's not easy. Even when a woman is going to go for the option of getting rid of the pregnancy, that is not an easy decision. People need to understand that. Pro-life and pro-choice people. It really, that's something else I'm also going to talk about, because I'd gotten a letter on that. Sometimes there's some topics I probably want other people to, to have an opposing view and just see how it takes, because I believe people's point of view really matters. But that's another topic, pro-choice, pro-life. It's something that's so divisive, especially in our politics. There's a pro-choice, and as long as this candidate is pro-choice, they don't want to hear anything else. If you're pro-life and that's all there is to it, that solves every problem. Well, it's not that easy. Anyway, so to get back to Tammy's letter, today's about Tammy. We're going to talk about Tammy. And she brought up a point. Mother's Day, the numbers are so, like mammoth numbers. Celebrated. Mother's Day, mother is celebrated everywhere, all over the world. In America is May, and it was last week. And in different parts of the world, it's different times of the year. But why are mothers so celebrated? So write to me, leave your comments, let me know. Why do you think mothers are more celebrated? Well, for one thing, you have a lot of absentee fathers. White, yellow, brown, grey, blue, black, it doesn't matter. Like I said, I don't think men are emotionally or wired emotionally to attach to kids. Please get me right. I'm not saying men do not get attached to their children. A parent gets attached to their children. But I think it's also the way men are wired. Women are very emotional. Men, for some reason, can compartmentalize their feelings. And one of the things they compartmentalize is children. So a man walking away from his marriage, his home, his relationship, yes, he feels attached to that child, but it's easy for him to compartmentalize his feelings in a way like, put it away, put a cork on it, if it's a bottle or a jar, put a lid on it, and that will be visited at a later time. A man walks away when a girl tells him he's pregnant. How come he doesn't feel attachment to her? Well, for one thing, I've always said this, and some of my friends will say, oh my God, I always say it. If men get pregnant, if they can get pregnant, go through all that pregnancy, all the attendant things that come with pregnancy, if they go through labor to bring out children, it won't be easy for them to walk away. And that is the truth. We as women get attached to our children because we've labored heavily. We've invested heavily into them. So it's not easy to walk away. That bonding is there. That whole, a child grew in you. Let's not even talk about a child growing in you, okay? Let's talk about even using a surrogate. Because some people would argue that, well, not all women bear children. That's true. A child comes in, I think then it boils down to how men think or how they're wired. Men can separate feelings. They can separate sentiments. They can, to them, it seems to me almost like they treat things in a business way. This is for kids. This box here is for kids. We're not going to open it now. Probably we'll open it up in like 2 weeks from now. Do you see what I'm saying? And then, so we're going to do business now. So for today, for the next 2 weeks, we do business. And then after that, okay, now we're going to do sports. So it's like in their brain, they have all these different compartments. And that's how they relate. Yes, we have deadbeat dads, Tammy. Unfortunately, we do. And it's really sad. What men need to understand, and I'm not bashing men here, but it would behove men to listen. Kids grow up to be adults. I was once a child many years ago, as are most of you listening to me. You grow and you become adults and you don't forget. You always remember that parent that's with you. that slaves with you. Sometimes you're not showing it all the time. I can tell you, even when there's mothers that are being separated, they will tell you it wasn't always easy. Sometimes the kids didn't understand the sacrifices that we're making. But eventually, the child grows into an adult and begins to appreciate the stress, the struggles, the challenges that a parent, especially a mother, faces. Deadbeat fathers. Why? And it's so funny because you have these deadbeat fathers actually giving a bad name to the good fathers. There are good fathers out there. There are fathers who know how to show love. There are fathers who can tell you they're sorry when they've wronged you. There are fathers who show you love and show you appreciation and also support you in your dreams, in your aspirations, and in whatever packaging you come with. People always wonder why athletes, especially in athletes, you see it, black or white. Again, I'm trying to stay away from the stereotype that, I mean, it's not so much a stereotype because it's actually a fact. You do find a lot of the athletes, especially in certain sports, are of African descent or African American heritage. And in the end, when they get their big bucks, their big moolah, the first person they turn to is mother. Because mother has always been there, come what may. It's not easy for a mother to turn her back on a child. And that's why mothers are being celebrated more. I believe so. If you don't agree, let me know and we can talk about it. So this is Ameze, and I want you to remember my podcast. Make sure you give me 5 stars. Make sure you rate me 5 stars, you follow me, make sure that you share my podcast and download it, subscribe, and support me in any way you can. Part of the way you can support me is share my podcast, share my audio, share my video. It's also on my YouTube. Do the same thing. It really means a lot to me. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart for those that have been there with me from the onset of this journey. I will not forget. So Tammy she says, I bet Mother's Day is going to be so much more special. It has always been special, but she's saying she bets that Father's Day is not going to be as celebrated. Well, could it be that mothers are more emotional? And it's funny because recently I was a YouTube video. It was about narcissistic mothers. Interesting. That's an interesting take because mothers are usually nurturing, but then there are mothers that are narcissistic and it's tough to please them. But I will tell you this, no matter how hard, no matter how strict, no matter how narcissistic that mother is, a child always wants to be validated by their mother. I think it has to do with all that, the unique role that we occupy. So let me know, why is Father's Day not as celebrated as Mother's Day? What is your take on it? Because I think men are absent. I think it was 2 episodes ago, or maybe it was just last episode, where a woman actually wrote to me. I have all these writers, thank you guys. And she said the COVID-19 lockdown saved her marriage. And one of the ways the man communicated to the woman, not one of the ways, what he communicated to her was that he wasn't being appreciated. He didn't feel he was being appreciated because he goes out, he was working really hard to take care of his family. This, the woman, his wife, and his children. What men need to understand is you spent all those years working, toiling hard. We appreciate it, don't get me wrong, because there are some men there that are not providers. Hence, you don't get celebrated on Father's Day. But then there are men also, it's not intentional, but probably stupidity or ignorance or their own pride. I don't know what it is, because a good provider is a good provider. There's some men you can't take that away from. But then in providing, you alienate yourself from your wife and from your children. You've got to spend time with these people you're providing, because before you know it, the kids are grown, they're out of the house, and guess what? You don't know them. You've missed out. Now, whose fault is it? The mother can try as much as she can, but you've also got to put in your own time. You've got to replete whatsoever emotional depletion is in those kids. You've got to make out time to know your children. Yes, you're working hard. You want to give them vacations. You want to you want to be able to give them all the lovely things that you believe that your family should have, things that you didn't have growing up. And all that's commendable, fella. All that's commendable. It's a great thing. However, time is something you can't get back. You've got to create time. You've got to work at relationship. You've got to work at your relationship with your wife. You've got to work at your relationship with your kids. You can't expect the woman to be the one, to be the go-between. She can only do as much between you and your children. You've got to be present. Present of mind, present physically. A lot of men really don't know what's going on in their kids' life. Oh, they're like, I'm busy providing for my family. Well, you've got to do more than that. You've got to do more than that, or you're going to lose your family. You know, it's funny, by the time men are retiring, the kids are already, they're empty nesters. And suddenly you're like, the wife doesn't know you because she has been neglected all these years. The kids, they're going to side with their mother because, see, kids watch their mothers. They know more than we give them credit for. If mom is crying, if mom is not happy, they know, and they're protective of their mothers. You're not there to give your side of the story. Sometimes you're stubborn. Sometimes you don't care enough. Well, you've got to care. Now I'm talking about fathers who provide. They're different from deadbeats. There are fathers who do not provide. They do not care about their children. They don't want to know. They've put them in a box. They don't want to think about it. Out of sight is out of mind. Now, those are the mean ones, and that's the one Tammy is talking about, deadbeat fathers. That's what we call them. Fathers who, all they are sperm donors. But the truth of the matter is, you suffer it at the end. Because those kids become teenagers, they become young adults, they become adults, and they in turn become parents. And remember, you're going to get older, and then you need those parents. I mean, there's so many stories out there of celebrities, and I do remember one in particular. It was Halle Berry, and I remember when I think the dad was dying or something, and then he reached out to her, and she's like, and everyone's like, oh, she should talk to her father. It's her father. And I was one of those that, look, she is still that little girl that still feels rejection. She's still brimming and angry from being rejected by her father and him not being there. Fathers, your absence affects your daughters. You're usually the first male role model. You are the one they know. You kind of determine the kind of man they will in turn be attracted to later on in life. And that's why I don't understand why some fathers take advantage of their daughters. Well, that's a sickness we're not going to talk about today. But deadbeat fathers, you need to understand that when you're not there for your kids, you always reap what you sow. You can have other kids, and that's true, but I would tell you this. It might just be that child you're ignoring would be your savior in future. It doesn't necessarily mean the kids you're there for are the ones that, or the kids that you love are actually the ones that are going to be there for you in the future. Probably not. You've got to love all your kids. So deadbeat fathers, for whatever reason, and if you're a deadbeat father or you have a reason why you are, please let me know. Write to me, mother.s@gmail.com. Come on here and be interviewed, either here on my YouTube channel or on Ameza Live. Let's talk to you. Maybe you want to redeem yourself. And I'm open to it. Someone like Tammy is actually hurting. Tammy has had on and off relationship, and then it was non-existent since she was like 12. She's in her 30s now. Yeah, 30s. People need to understand this. We're talking about fathers. So because some mothers, I'm told, well, I will tell you this. It's tough for a woman to turn her back on her child or her children. Now, are there women who do it? Of course there are women who do it. But there's a reason to. Just like I'm sure men will say there's a reason why I do what I do too. But it's more common with men. Why are women more celebrated than men? We see it in the movies we watch. We see it in documentaries. We see it in real life. We see it in the sports. Our athletes. First thing when they do, they get a house for their mother. Once the money comes in, they buy her a car because they remember mother was always there. And I had friends who, come rain, come sun, come shine, come snow, they're always there for their kids' practices. And the men are like, I don't have time. Even on the days that he's off, they don't want to be bothered. They think, well, you know what, you're the woman. You take care of that. The child sees those things. Children don't remain children forever. You were once a child. Did you remain one? No. You grew up and you became an adult. And it's the same thing. These kids are going to grow up and they're going to remember who was in their corner. Now, I don't know about you. It's the same thing with me. Like, oh, I remember my subscribers. I know those that are subscribing to me. I know those who support me. I know those who encourage me. I do. You don't forget people who are good to you. So it's the same thing with kids who become adults. You're always going to remember who was in your corner. You're always going to remember those who gave you a leg up. You're always going to remember those who gave you a crack in the door, who gave you a chance to make something of yourself. You're always going to remember those teachers who are always there for you. You find even presidents will say, oh, I remember my second grade teacher. Obama did it. And there are presidents before him that did it. I'm sure Trump also remembers people who, like, even when others think they would amass to something or amount to something, but that teacher, that second grade teacher, that math teacher, that person in college who said, no, you can do this. We have actors come up all the time and said, I would have been in trouble if it wasn't for this auntie, or if it wasn't for this uncle, or if it wasn't for this neighbor, or if it wasn't for this teacher. It always happens. You never forget. Fathers are absent in mind and in presence, physical. Just because you're providing for your family doesn't give you a leeway or gives you a pass to ignore your family. Some men get so pumped up by the fact that they're providing everything, and so they're going to lord it over those that are recipient of their love. You're a provider. That's what a man is. A real man provides for his family. Now, don't get me wrong. I know there are women providers out there, and I give it to you. But I think men are wired to be the providers. They are the king of their castles, and the women are the helpmate. I believe that. Do I believe that women shouldn't work or they can't be CEOs? Things are changing. There are no gender roles that are cast in stone or embedded in cement that it can't be changed. Things are changing. But there are some roles that come naturally to us. A man automatically wants to provide. A man could be providing in a home and the wife is not working and he's fine with it. Now let's flip it. If a woman is the provider and the man sits at home and is not doing it, a woman can't take it. I challenge you. I challenge you to disagree with me. Actually, I want you to come on, and let's have an interview. Let's have a discuss. This is what I'm saying. Men being natural providers can take a woman being just home, not working, and he goes out there, toil from dusk till dawn, comes home, the woman isn't doing anything. Well, he might not be happy about it, but he can take it. And I'm saying flip that script around. Make the woman the provider. Make her the one who goes out to provide for the family, and she comes home and the man is a lazy bum. I'm telling you, that relationship, that marriage, that union cannot last. She's going to resent it. Women are not meant to wear the pants in the family. I'm sorry. No, I'm not even sorry. That's what I believe. It's just not meant to be that way. It's not natural. Women are not meant to bear that kind of pressure. A woman being the provider of a home, and please understand me rightly, I'm not saying women are not, because if that's what you're hearing, then you're hearing wrong. You need to rewind the video and listen again. There are so many women CEOs out there. There's so many women breadwinners out there. What I'm saying is, naturally, it's tougher for them to be able to do that role and not resent and not actually tear apart a relationship when the man isn't pulling his weight. Now, are there women who are doing it with the men just being lazy bums? Yes. But the woman is not one to sit back. The many things she's going to resent you because you're not taking that leadership role. You're not taking the provider role. You're not being a man. That's what being a man is. Women do not like weak men. Now, maybe some women, but then what is weak? Weak might be, do not argue with her because she wants to be in control. That doesn't mean you should be a lazy bum. A woman can earn more than you, but that doesn't mean that you're just going to, you have to do something. You have to either take the role, a role that's generally seen as a woman's role. You're cooking, you're cleaning, you're taking care of the car, you're taking care of the children. If you're not doing those things, it's either she's very passive aggressive and eventually is going to break, that relationship is going to break off. Or she's going to be really aggressive. She's going to be very resentful. She's going to be every time always angry. And you're wondering, why is she angry? Well, because you're making her go out there and earn the bacon, honey. You're making her go out there to earn the butter and the bread. Doesn't work well with women. If you disagree with me, come on, let's talk about it. So while we're talking about this, I just remembered now, please, every Sunday, again, it's from you guys wanted this, I'm going to have some kind of social interaction on Facebook. I'm going to be doing Facebook Live on Ameze. That's my Facebook ID, user ID. Okay, so Ameze, and you're going to see my face on there. I'll be there between the hours of 2 and 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sunday. So make sure you keep a date with me and let's talk about things. Some of you might want to wait until then to engage me in some kind of debate. And that's fine. I welcome it. Let's do some kind of dance. Dialogue dance. It's always good to dialogue. I don't have all the answers. This is me just giving my 2 cents. Deadbeat fathers. It's a shame. Shame on you. You know, you're losing out. You're losing out on beautiful children. You never know what those kids are going to be. And eventually when they come into their own and they're really great, and then you want to be a part of their lives. It doesn't happen that way. You've got to invest. Just like you invest in relationships. You've got to do that. You've got to invest. You invest in your job. So why do you think a relationship with your wife or your children is going to be different? It's not going to be different. And then you have the providers. Was that deadbeat father? Anyway, for the deadbeat fathers, I don't even know what to say. You're just deadbeat. You've no use to society, really. Now, there are women. I'm going to talk about this deadbeat thing, but I actually wanted more. I'm going to try and get someone to, maybe interview someone. So that would be nice, or maybe more than one who will talk about this. But I'm also going to talk about fathers that are providers. You can't afford, you're doing a great thing. I can't not take that from you. However, you have got to be present mentally and physically. You can't take leave of your family. You just can't do that. So Father's Day is coming up. How are we going to celebrate fathers? Fathers are useful in the society. Fathers have their roles. Some fathers can appreciate their roles and they play their role very well. And others just are passers-by, or they're just watching and they're like viewers of a show. And it's a sad place to be in, because eventually you're going to be sad at the end of it all. You'll be a sad, lonely man. Anyway, so I'm going to give a shout out to all the wonderful fathers out there who are good providers and who are great husbands and great fathers. And we're just going to say thank you so much for coming into your role and being the men that we appreciate and we love. And you will always have the support of a good woman. You know, I tell people this, a good man, you would always, you're going to have your woman love you, you know, and that's all you need to be. A lot of men women don't understand this too. Men just love your wives, just love them, and invest in her and watch her bloom. She's going to blossom, and she's just going to want to show you appreciation for believing in her and just loving her. And men, the big thing with men is respect. When you love your woman, she's going to respect you. She's never going to put anyone before you, not even the kids, because you're the king of the castle. That's how it works. That's what makes good relationships. So for all the wonderful fathers out there, this is Ameza saying, great job, guys. Keep doing what you're doing, because you're going to love that woman, and that woman is going to love you in your later years. And of course, your kids are going to love you and take care of you. Okay? And for those deadbeat fathers, well, we're not going to waste our breath on those. So, all right, guys. So remember to follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Ameza Superstar. Remember my podcast, Ameza Live. Tune in, keep a date with me. And tomorrow I'm going to be doing Facebook Live between the hours of 2 and 4 p.m. And let's socially interact and let's talk about stuff. All right, until I come your way again, keep a date with me. Be safe. Be blessed.